Welcome everyone to our second of the year community sync. Apparently we had one last week, but I forgot about it already. So we're gonna start today with several demos. We have some additional things to go over in the repo today that might be interesting. We have a awesome PR that was dropped for us recently by Marcin, the Mega Menu PR. And we have some release notes we might want to talk about or just glance at. So today we have three demos, or three different people demoing. We have Anthula with some store-specific URL suffix fixes. We have Tommy with order history page and saved payment deletion functionality. And I will be demoing a debug reporter and ErrorView refresh. So to start it off, I will pass the mic to Anthula, the demo.
Sounds good, thank you. Let me share my screen. Cool. Okay, so this is some features we worked on for Multistore. What we did was we added some support for product and category URL settings that are configurable in the admin panel. So I'd like to show you a demonstration of that and walk you through a little bit of how we built that. So I have a store view here configured with the product and category URLs set to the default, which is .html. And then I have another store view that I'll switch to that is configured with something custom. So this is, you can put anything here, but for demo's sake, I configured it to be empty for product and category URL. So when we go to the storefront, and right now I'm on the store view that has been set to default, so it's going to use .html. If we go to a category page, you will see that it is pulling the correct suffix for category pages. And then if I switch over to the store view that has the custom suffix, now that it will render the correct page because it is using the empty suffix for the URL for categories. And so if we drill down into a product page, same thing here, but now it's using the product category URL suffix. Here it's still empty. And then if we switch to another store view, the default store view, you'll see that it is pulling in the default HTML page. So that's good for product and category pages. And some quick things to show you with what we did with the code. Everything's happening really with this store switcher talent. So what we need to do in here is in order to get the page type, we need to run the query for a URL resolver. And then in available stores, there's the category URL suffix and the product URL suffix values. So we're using that in the store switcher Ellen here. So let's see, if we go down to when we actually switch the store, we're getting the data for the URL resolver as well as the store code. You would need that, and setting the page type, and then here we're constructing the path name based on the page type. So if it's a category page or a product page, we're getting the current suffix category URL, and we're constructing the new suffix that we want. And then we're just doing a swap. We're replacing the current suffix with the new suffix here, and that gives us the right path. And I think that's it for the store switcher. The other important piece that I wanted to mention is that we are now creating in Adapter, we are now creating a top level cache. Um, Here we labeled it Apollo Cache Persist with the store code. So every time you switch to a different store view, you can use this top level cache and to get the correct data. And that actually fixed a race condition that we saw when you switch very quickly between store views and you click right away, you might get some stale data, and that would end up getting a 404 page. So that resolved it, and so it kind of looks like this now. Here we have our store views based on the store code, my French, and I think this is Spanish, and it will use the correct cache for that. So I believe that ends my demo. I'll take some questions, or we can pass it off to whoever.
Yeah, it looks like, well, first of all, good demo, Anthula. I think this is a really cool feature, and the fix to that Apollo cache will probably fix a couple other issues we've been seeing, and we weighed the pros and cons, and I think we've determined that this maintaining multiple caches per store is not necessarily that big of a performance hit. If you're not going to be switching stores that often anyways, so all in all, this is a really cool feature, and I look forward to it being released. That said, Chris has a question in chat. Did the cache fix make it to the V9 release? I don't think so. I think this was merged to develop, not the release branch, right?
It's still waiting to be merged, so it's not.
Oh, okay. So
it has not been delivered quite yet.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Chris, it doesn't seem if this is the fix that you're talking about, it doesn't look like it'll make it to V9. That said, it's a pretty minor change and something that I think that people could implement on their own if they wanted to ahead of time. The only thing here is that store view code, I believe, is set in storage. I'm not sure if that is new functionality to this PR or if we had already been storing the store view code before this PR.
We already stored it in.
Yeah, okay. That had
it was from the beginning.
Okay, cool. So just adding a key identifier to differentiate your caches should be pretty easy to do. Any other questions? All right. Thank you. Round of applause. And let's pass over to Tommy. Order history page and save photo.
There's no applause. There you go. All right. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Anthula. Great demo. I've got a couple things to show. I was digging through the commits, and I don't know if this is just a sign that we've solved all major problems, or that.
Oh yeah, that's it. We've solved everything.
I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to demo here. This is, nothing too exciting, but I'll go through the two things that have been solved recently. I think last week there was a demo of order filtering, and we kind of hinted that pagination was coming. I know Chris was very interested in it. But I want to preface this with, I don't know if I like this solution. And I implemented it kind of the moment after it was merged. I'm like, wait, and I came up with a better one. So I'll show you what we have going on, but then I'll show you probably what I'm going to try to push through here in the next couple weeks to fix this up so it behaves a little bit better. So I'll start with the demo portion. So let me. So this is in the release branch. If you've been following along, you may have noticed that order history was we just kind of rendered every single order that you had, and even though B2C, it's unlikely that people are going to have hundreds and hundreds of orders. We still thought we should limit it somewhat. So now we have limited order history to the first 10 items or 10 orders. And then we added a little indicator up here showing you that you are seeing the first 10. And then you click a little load more button, and you kind of get this infinite loading kind of view. And then as soon as you're out of orders, you don't see the button anymore. So fun stuff there. But I don't know if I want to call myself out. So showing 10 there, but the way we implemented this was, I guess I would call it super simple. In that the query that fires, it's used by both for filtering, but also for pagination. And all we do is pass a little piece of local state called page size. So clicking that load more button is just going to bump page size up by 10 until it doesn't matter to bump it up anymore. But can anybody guess why that might not be great? I know Chris knows. So that also means that every time this query fires again, we're refetching all of that other data set that we already have in our local cache. So we even though we have these first 10, the next time we hit load more, you'll see that took a little bit longer that time. And that the variables that we passed, we just increased page size, and then you'll see the response of orders is going to be all 15 of those orders instead of just the additional 5 that we needed to do that. So we kind of accepted this as like, yeah, it's simple. We needed to sneak this into the release because we didn't want like in the entirety of orders being rendered. But this is kind of like a step in the right direction, but maybe not the ideal final solution. So there will be some changes coming down related to this. Some other highlights that I would want to point out here, just to be, are we avoiding being technical now? I don't remember.
No,
I think
be technical.
All right, so one of the first things you need to do when you're doing pagination is you need to tell Apollo, so by default, Apollo, if it sees anything as an argument to a query, it's going to store it in a different kind of cache result. So say if I didn't tell it that page size was something that I didn't care about, each time page size changed, it would store a result set for the page size of 10, and it'd store a completely different result set for the page size of 15. So the first step in doing that correctly is telling Apollo, go ahead and ignore the key arguments for page size, and then in the future, kind of the current page filter will also be removed there. But we do want it to key off of filter, so we want different result sets based on whatever filter you pass. Other than that, this is very straightforward. Local state, I was able to do some cleanup of the existing logic to kind of just make sure that pagination and the filter both use the same query, and they kind of just respond to local state updates. And looking through this, yeah, nothing super crazy. Besides just wrapping our heads around working with informed forms and all that fun stuff. So what is going to come is Apollo's documentation about this is great. I just messed it up a little bit. So you'll see here that I incorrectly thought that you can kind of like dive into fields, like nested fields, in these type policies, but you can't. I thought that this little blurb here would say, hey, when you get new items, just merge it into the existing result set. And it turns out this was actually doing nothing at all, and is why I couldn't actually get this to work in the Apollo way. But now that I know my mistake, I need to apply that rule to the customer orders type. So that is what the fix will be. You'll see here that we have different types defined for like customer. Orders is kind of a nested field under it, but I would need to define a customer orders type here and then tell it the items that come in, I want to merge. We actually can't do it this way. We're going to do it in this suggested way that says there are no key arguments on that field, so we don't even need to have this, but we need to tell it, hey, when you get a new result set in, just merge it into the existing one. And what this will allow you to do is use this fetch more piece of functionality where this submit handler, instead of just bumping up that piece of local state that says, okay, now fetch 20, it's going to say, okay, fetch the next 10 and then merge it into the result set. And then your Apollo query will just say, merge whatever I have in my cache, or render whatever I have in my cache. If that's only the first 10, that's fine. And then I'll show fetch more. So there will be some changes coming to make this more performant. It shouldn't be a huge deal because B2C customers likely don't have, more than 10 or 20 orders anyway. But just be mindful if you are pulling down the release and you do expect your customers to have a large amount of orders, you may want to keep an eye out for this PR coming up that will fix this pagination to fall more in line with how Apollo suggests doing this so you're not overfetching. All right, so that's it for pagination. Any questions there before I move on to payment deletion?
Yeah, it looked like Chris, oh, you might have answered it. Chris was asking in chat about whether there was an offset. I think you kind of touched on it there, that in the future we're going to move towards using this fetch more functionality.
Yeah. So we'll be using fetch more in the future, and then our variables are a little different. We don't have an offset. I think we use current page. So our current offset would be current page times page size, I guess. Yeah. We will implement something similar where the fetch more will likely just pass a variable for current page and continue just bumping the next page up and up, merging that result set into the cache result, and then rendering what it has. I kind of have a working solution for this. I had it working on a local, and then the PR got merged. I'm like, I'm too late. I'm not going to try to sneak it into the release because this is functional. It's reasonable that it behaves this way for now, but there is a more optimized way to do this.
Yeah. Real quick, I did have a question whether we fetch those order, I know we fetch the order rows, but do we fetch all the items within an order on page load of order history? Chris was saying he has some clients with 2,000 line items within an order, so.
Presently, yeah, all of the items within the order are within.
For each line, okay.
Yeah. So you'll see each order has also its items. We did find there were some data points missing from this, such as the images. We had no way to get to the images besides doing a follow-up query. So if that is a concern of yours where you don't want to kind of pre-fetch those items since you're only going to render the first 5 anyway, I don't even know if you can filter.
Yeah, you probably can't filter down. There's probably not a subquery for that.
You cannot. So yeah, your only option there would be to not fetch items, and then to do it in a follow-up query in some way, similar to how we're doing.
We do it to fetch that first image, right? Like the number of items is not used anywhere in these rows except to render an image for the first thing, it would seem.
So it's none of these are a good example, but it is used to determine. It only shows the first 4 and then shows like a plus counter, and then it makes you drill in to see the additional. But yeah, you could do something similar Actually, you could not. I think we have our hands tied by this GraphQL endpoint. Ideally, we would be able to apply a pagination filter to the items as well. Like, I only want the first 5 items of this order, but that does not seem possible. So, if you have an order with lots of items, I really don't see an alternative here besides maybe fetching just a smaller data set. So just fetching like the SKU, or not fetching the items at all and kind of changing how this renders.
Yeah.
So you're not displaying any item data until you drill in, and then once you drill in, that's what triggers the fetching of all the item data. Yeah, that's a good question. I know Chris is very B2B focused and makes us be optimized by default. So that's a very valid concern, and maybe something we should consider escalating to the GraphQL team. That I think any list of data should have pagination and sorting and filtering. Like that's if it's a list, you should have these 3 things. I think there might be kind of a push going that direction, but this is what we have right now, so we kind of work within the bounds that are there. Okay, anything else? I still can't see chat.
Oh yeah, no other questions in chat. Do you want to demo the second thing?
Absolutely. All right, so next up is save payments. Make sure my session didn't die. So this is going into develop. It's not going to make it into the release, but this was just a feature that's been outstanding. So a quick little backstory. Don't mind that error. I don't have alt text. So we actually don't have a way to add anything to the vault, but it's a pretty simple flag that you can do. But let's assume for a second that there's a checkbox here when you're logged in that says save this to the vault, and then when you check out, we kind of that public hash for that payment method just gets saved, and then we can reuse it again in our next checkout experience. We actually don't have that implemented either, but now that we have items in our vault, we have the ability to delete. So I think this is pretty similar. The only things that I ran into that I would want to highlight. So when you delete, it gives you this confirmation. I think this is very similar to what we saw on the address book, where we kind of want this. We don't want to delete based on that click, especially on like a mobile device where somebody might accidentally hit that button. But anyways, it's just pretty straightforward. If you confirm a delete, it goes away. And now it's gone. You can no longer use that that public hash as a payment method. I assume Magento purges it from its vault as well. And then I can also maybe simulate an error. Ideally, if you can fetch this data, you can probably delete it. Well, let's see, we can simulate an error here. That would, what happened? Did I break it? I broke something. Oh, okay, there it goes. It just, it goes back and then it pops a toast saying something went wrong deleting this payment method. Please refresh and try again. And ideally when you refresh, somehow that would refresh that data and get you back running. Okay, so highlights in this one are pretty similar. Some additional Apollo policy updates. So with anything, we are using a shared fragment here that says when I delete something, it returns a set of customer payment tokens. This is the same set that we query for. So all we say here is like, I would like the exact same fragment that I queried for initially, and please update my cache for me. But when you do that, you have to tell Apollo how you want to merge those incoming results. So uh, a lot of times we just say, let's trust what's coming from Magento. Um, so we had to add a rule here that says, yes, trust the incoming, replace everything in the cache with the incoming, and then that automatically triggers re-renders. Yeah, I don't think anything else, any new patterns kind of emerged here. This was all pretty simple, fun stuff. It's got a fun animation, you know, expand horizontally when you're on desktop,
Fancy.
expand vertically when you're on mobile.
Whoa.
Nice, nice, nice. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. It's keyboard navigable. I think accessibility says your kind of confirmation should be first. So you'll see when I first tab, it goes to delete and then it goes to cancel, even though that's not the natural order it's in. You should go to the action first. I think delete itself becomes disabled when you're open. So if I hit again, nothing happens. And we'll have to check with UX on this. I have not demoed this to UX, so this could change. But we do allow opening multiple of these at a time because we have our queued mutation logic. I think you could actually like queue all of these up. Oh, I have my simulated error in place. But we could queue all these up and kind of delete them all at once, and the app would respond to that just fine. Let's just try it. 1, 2, 3, boom. Now my payments are gone. Easy.
Beautiful.
It's so fast. Yeah, so this is, I just threw a PR up for this. It should, since it's so simple, it should probably coast through. But yeah, keep an eye out for this for save payments deletion. We are very conscious that there's no way in the app to save a payment right now. So I think we are trying to prioritize kind of getting saving to the vault and then also some sort of vault selection added to checkout. So when you get here in the checkout phase, if you're logged in and you have some options in your vault, you can select that option. Or if you're entering a new option, there's a checkbox that says save this for future purposes.
Nice. Right. Looks great, Tommy.
That's all I got. Any questions before I stop sharing?
Doesn't look like we have any questions.
Dope.
So I was wondering, do we go past 10:30 normally? Because I can demo a few things quickly, or we can call it. But I'll just go ahead and continue demoing real quick. I think I can do them fast. All right. So I'm going to demo a few things I've been working on, just really quickly, really briefly. First is an error view. When you try to navigate to a not found to a page that doesn't exist, or maybe you had something bookmarked or maybe a category doesn't exist when you switch stores, for a multitude of reasons, you could land on a not found or 404 view. And there's other places where you could get this sort of view if you got a 500 or some sort of backend error, GraphQL error. The existing state is this red bar that just says the page could not be found, please try again. And that's not really useful or helpful. What is the user going to try again? It's not really clear. So got some direction from UX, and this is the new look for that error page. We've got a background image hosted in Venia static currently. That's, you can swap that out for whatever you'd like, modify it with some CSS. It's just a simple header message, and then a button to go home. It's responsive, so on mobile, sorry. Looks decent, and just overall better experience than just saying page cannot be found, please try again. So if you want to check out that PR, it's 2936. did a few other things. I removed some old unused components from Peregrine, and I removed the not found component and replaced it with what is now an ErrorView. So ErrorView is used in several places. Take some props, so you can pass it, header, a message, some button prompt, and on-click function, or you can just have it do the default. I added a story for it, so you can check it out in the Venia storybook. And that's about it for ErrorView. Any questions in chat before I jump over to the debug reporter? Somebody's going to have to tell me because I can't see chat.
No questions.
Okay. Cool. The next thing I worked on was a debugging reporter. This is something I did for Hackathon, and Ravant has helped me finish up since I've been really busy lately with other things. The general idea was that we get a lot of issues that, posts in the Slack chat that ask for help with identifying or debugging some problem someone's experiencing, but we ask for some basic information, and sometimes it's kind of hard to identify to help people find that information. So this script does a little bit of that for people. So all you have to do is run this command in your scaffolded app, yarn build report, and it will generate a report. It'll identify the Magento dependencies and the pinned versions in your lock file, and it will tell us if your backend is working, what version your backend is running on. It'll give us some information about your operating system, your node version, your npm version, and this is stuff that we've asked for in the issue template on GitHub before. And so now the GitHub template just says run this command and then throw the output in here for us. So hopefully this will help us help you identify or debug those issues that you might run into. It'll help us figure out maybe which dependency was the problem or something like that. So this also is not going to go out in version 9, but I'm thinking it's going to be published as part of build pack, so we could publish it separately sooner than later, I think. And then to follow on, I just wanted to bring up briefly, there's 2 PRs open. There's this mega menu PR that was open, 2932. Marcin opened it for us, providing this new functionality, this awesome mega menu. We haven't had a chance internally to give it an adequate review yet, but I wanted to open it up to the community at large to just say, go check it out and leave your feedback. Any and all feedback is appreciated, and it'd be great to just get a head start on that, I think, for everybody. And second is the release notes coming up for 9.0 release. That is PR 2935. And we won't go through this today. I'm sure James will in the future, or maybe he already has and I missed it. But I just wanted to throw it out there. If you want to get a peek at what's coming up in the release, you can check out this PR.
Yeah, it's still being reviewed, so it's definitely subject to change. So, but if you want to take a sneak peek at what's coming up, and it has all the PRs listed on there, and the highlights are pretty much there. So.
Yeah, I still have to look at it myself. All right. Well, we are over time, and I want to wrap it up so we don't hold anybody any longer. Onwards and upwards, as they say. Anything else? Read a dad joke real quick. What 10-letter word starts with GAS? Automobile. That was a bad joke. I'm sorry. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.